number of asylum seekers on the streets of the Northwest is growing. Who are these people? Where have they come from? And what are the real facts about asylum? That's today's Gloves Off. Hello, I'm Kerry Wilson and welcome to another edition of Gloves Off. The subject of asylum seekers always raises a range of different emotions and opinions, but the fact is there are as many as 10,000 destitute asylum seekers on the streets of the Northwest. Many have no state support and are banned from working. That's why they are destitute. Yet for some, living on the streets and working illegally is better than returning to their home country. As the Home Office continues to tighten the laws, it is becoming increasingly difficult for asylum seekers to escape from war or persecution in their own country. So what needs to be done to change this situation? With me in the studio to discuss the asylum process is Mark Krantz, Chairman of the Committee to Defend Asylum Seekers, which for the last 5 years has provided support to people seeking asylum in Greater Manchester. Tony Openshaw, who is currently the manager of Manchester Asylum Support Housing Advice Service. He's been involved with asylum and immigration issues for the past 20 years. And Mansoor Hassan, a journalist who fled persecution in Pakistan. He's awaiting a decision from the Home Office on his second asylum application, and he also volunteers for various organisations such as the Red Cross. First of all, thank you all for joining me. And if I can just start for a question for all of you. And do you think that Britain really is being swamped by asylum seekers, or is it just the way that the media represents this? First of all, Mark.
Well, this word swamped started with Margaret Thatcher quite a long while ago, and it was deliberately a negative and a racist view of asylum seekers. But are there too many people who are refugees seeking asylum coming to Britain? Actually, you know, this is perhaps not a usual response that you get, but I say I worry that there's not enough, that there are people who are in fear of their lives and are facing persecution, and our country has a long tradition of offering safety to people like that, and I think we should be opening our doors so more people can come.
Sure. Thank you. Tony?
Well, I agree with Mark that the word swamped is a very emotive word, it's a very negative word to do with overcrowding. And I think there's a lot of confusion in the general public's mind about asylum seekers and about generally people coming to the UK from abroad. Asylum seekers are people who come here because they fear persecution, because of war, because of rape, and so on. Whereas people who come to this country for work, I think the two issues are becoming confused. For example, there's probably about 200,000 French people in London. 200,000. Nobody ever blinks an eye, at those numbers. There's probably about 10,000 Australians who've overstayed their visas who should be deported because they've committed a crime, immigration crime by overstaying. Nobody ever mentions these figures. So I think the figures about asylum seekers is a lot to do with racism.
Sure. Thank you. Mansoor?
I think I want to add here, there are only 2% of, in the world, refugees are here. So it is not overcrowded. Even Britain need more people to come here.
Financially, all of the studies, including those by the government, and there was one just very recently, show that the people that come to this country, either as migrant workers, as Tony was talking about, or as refugee people seeking asylum, they contribute economically £2 to £4 billion, I think the estimates are in the next couple of years. When it comes to a lot of industries, especially agriculture and hotels, without people, from abroad doing jobs, a lot of things wouldn't get done.
The proportion of people that are actually fleeing, like persecution or danger in their home countries, what is the proportion to people that are just, say, here because they want to have a better life in a different country?
I've never come across anyone who, I would say is pretending. I'll tell you why, to try and give evidence. You know, there used to be many people who fled from Chile in the 1970s to come to Britain. No one flees from Chile now. People that are fleeing from the Congo, from Zimbabwe, from parts of Iraq, from Libya. These are countries where there is war and repression. If there wasn't war and repression, they wouldn't come. And it is inconceivable. Why would someone leave their family and leave a good life and come here and pretend that they've fled from persecution, and for what? To be mistreated and to not be allowed to work and not to have a future or have a very, very difficult situation. So I can't see that there's any. I've certainly personally met many refugee people seeking asylum. I've never met one that I didn't believe was a genuine person.
Sure. And Tony?
Well, I agree with Mark. I mean, there may be some people who abuse the system, but I think it's a very small minority. And I mean, who would want to come to this country and be electronically tagged, have voice recognition, not be allowed to work, be subject to abuse, racial abuse, and so on? Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think people who wanted a better life would come for that. They would apply to come to this country, you know, for the purposes of work.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that's a different system from asylum.
Absolutely. Mansour?
I don't think that is right, because my people who living in their countries 37 years or 40 years, why they leave their countries only, I mean, what is here? I don't think, apart from safety, we are suffering here. Mm-hmm. Apart from safety, my son is not able to get whatever he wants to get, and he was getting in Pakistan. And same with the family, we are not living on the same standard as housing. We are not eating as we want to eat, and we are not wearing what we want to wear.
Certainly. The law